Welcome to day 2 PCA 2025 Convention Trade Show coverage live from the Simply Stogies bunker in Arabi, Louisiana. We are just minutes away. We're less than 4 miles away from the convention center. And yes, thank you for asking. It takes more than 30 minutes to get there. Thanks, New Orleans traffic. I promise I'm not going to bitch a whole lot tonight. Am I tired? Yes. Am I exhausted? Yes. Do I feel like I'm dying slowly? 100%. But I carry on for you, dear viewer. I carry on for you. Tonight on our live, we have with us, to my left, my friend, my co-host, LH Cigars owner, blender extraordinaire, Nicholas Sayers. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, James. How are you tonight?
I didn't call you Master Blender.
Oh, it's been a while.
It has. Blender extraordinaire, is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay,
that's
perfect.
Fine.
Blender extraordinaire. Yeah, it was a good day today. It was a good day.
Yeah.
We're going to get to...
Yeah. All good, man. All good.
Nick's like, I'm so fucking tired of being here.
No, you know what? Yesterday we talked about it before. Today, with less sleep, I seem to have caught my second wind or third.
Oh yeah, you and Tim kicked a lot of ass today as far as getting content. Speaking of Tim, to my right, the peanut butter to my jelly, the anchovies on my pizza.
Ugh.
It's Tim Allen. Tim, welcome to the show.
Wrong. Like, do you mean to do that as a compliment, or is that intentional diss?
Well, a little column A and a little column B.
So basically, like C.
Yeah, we're kind of right in the middle. Right. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm still tired, but I do feel better than I did yesterday. Yesterday kicked my ass.
Oh yeah, and you know it was tiring. Like, I don't know what day 3, the morning's going to look like yet. You're going to want to stay tuned for that live tomorrow morning. I'd also like to point out that here in New Orleans, it is beautiful out. Absolutely beautiful. But these two wussies on each side of me need a coat.
Well,
I also have
an extra layer.
I have several extra layers. Thank you, Nick, for pointing that out. Trade show is swinging full gear. It was kicked into high drive today. A lot of things to get to, a lot of thoughts that I have. I think yesterday there was so much traffic, however you want to pronounce it, traffic up front, that when you would go to the back, because it's very long, but it's not very deep, if that makes sense. So a lot of the traffic yesterday was up front. And it was deceptive if you're in the back getting interviews with people who are obviously free. And you think to yourself, man, there's not a lot of people here. But then when you would walk a few aisles up, you're like, oh, it's a sea of people. Yeah. And today, it was a little more even keel.
If I may.
Please do.
Now it makes a lot of sense. The first day, everybody gravitated to the larger booths up front. The bigger booths, the Generals and the Davidoffs and Gurkha and Rocky and AJ and the larger booths in the front. So when we were in the middle to back, I was a little nervous at first, thinking, boy, it doesn't look like there's a lot of attendance. But the reason being, everybody just kind of ran, like, when they blow the whistle and everybody goes to where they want to get to. And so that's where most of the people were. And then, as you mentioned, later on in the afternoon, you started seeing those people done, moving on. So it got a little bit busier in the afternoon. But I think they were all there all day. You just didn't see them in the beginning. Yeah. So we were in the middle to back. Today was a different story. Today, the traffic looked a lot more busy.
A lot more even.
Yeah, there was just people everywhere. So it looked much more bustling today.
Yes, it felt a little bit more bustling today, but I think it was about the same amount of traffic from yesterday. Like, yeah, just spread out more. Tim, thoughts on foot traffic at the PCA Trade Show Convention?
I agree with everything that Nick said. I was a little worried.
I said the same thing. But he agrees,
but
he agrees with you.
But he agrees with me, yeah.
Well, maybe if you had something better than peanut butter to my jelly.
I said anchovies on my pizza.
Cream to my hemorrhoid.
Go get your tickets, badash.com forward. Slash events. It looks like I'm still live. Just keep going. Yeah, just keep going. Um, so yeah, it was an interesting day. Do I need to put that on?
No, just keep talking.
Just keep talking. I'm going to keep talking.
Okay.
It was an interesting day. It was a fun day. I think any day I get to start out by talking with John Huber is a good day. I'm gonna tell stories out of class. I think a little bit.
All right.
So just everybody kind of hang on to your hats. The last few years, John Huber's been on the podcast. You guys know he's been on the podcast. I thought it was one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done up until
Predates me. Don't care.
it does. Yeah, thank you. And I did a lot of research for that podcast, for that interview, because I really wanted to make an impression. And so we talked about music. We talked about things that interested him. It just wasn't cigars, and it certainly wasn't wrapper, binder, filler. We talked about LEs, and I think that's where he said, the industry's kind of jumped the shark when it comes to limited editions. And so for the last couple of years, when I would come to the trade show, he didn't remember me. He'd be like, "Oh, hey James, it's nice to meet you." I'm like,
This was today?
No, the last couple of years. I'd be like, "John, you've been on the show."
So it was kind of an interesting, I mean, it happened to me in Cuba where people that I only see once a year and only once a year, I mean, I could walk around and nobody knew who I was. So yesterday and today, I would walk by people and I would feel, obligated to say hello to somebody that I knew. And they would be very pleasant. Hey, how you doing? How can I see you? And I'm like, you have no idea who I am. They're like, oh shit, I just heard your voice. Oh, okay, Nick. Or if I had my big trusty little pass with Nick on it, they would go, oh, if I didn't look at your name, I'd have no idea who you were. So if I heard that once, I heard it 100 times. And with Eric, and I've known Eric from his early days of being not in the industry, because he was a broker and he was a national sales manager for another company. And then he started his own, and he very politely said, I'm sorry, how do we know each other again? And I go, Eric, and I reminded of several different conversations that we've had over the years and our common thing is, okay, stop. I got it. I remember you. I'm sorry. And I'm like, no worries. And then, you know what? It was a really nice conversation. He seemed very content, very happy, which means I'm sure the show is going well for him. He had Guy Fieri yesterday. And he spent, I don't know, like 6 hours there or something crazy. And then they put him on his plane. And they actually felt more at ease without him being there because they're kind of always on high alert with him. And of course,
they kind of have to protect him.
Yes. Right. Well, he's got his own bodyguard that goes with him. So, yeah, they protected him. They, it's great. The retailers, whoever wants to go meet Guy Fieri, but, and he relayed, and it'll be in the podcast, and it's a good one, I believe. Some interesting stuff. If you didn't know about Eric, you'll find out.
The alpha dog.
But what he said is, you know what? He didn't even, when it was originally approached by Guy Fieri, he was like, I don't want to do it. Those celebrity cigars don't really work, and it's flash in a pan. And Guy came around and said, hey, listen, I've done my homework on you. You clearly have not done your homework on me. And he was like, okay, what do I need to know? And long story short, he realized he was the right guy. And as long as I've been around the industry since the 90s, I've never seen a celebrity cigar do as well as it does. And it's not just his name attached to it. He's promoting that all the time.
Yeah.
They literally drive around to whatever city he's in, doing his, dives and whatever that show's called.
Yeah, diners, drive-ins, and dives.
So, and they'll do an event in that city so the guy is always double dipping it, working the cigar angle, because he is a big cigar smoker, doing his day job, and that's really just kind of really flourished that cigar, and of course brings up the whole level of the Espinosa cigar portfolio, for sure.
I was really hoping that Hector Alfonso Sr. was going to be here because he personally invited us to the booth to meet Guy Fieri.
Well, we could have. I mean, Jack Durano was there. And, Jack and I have known each other for a number of
They were so busy yesterday. I would have even felt bad going.
Yeah, no, I kind of looked, and I saw, the Mayday going on, the melee going on, and it was like, no, I don't want to go in there. And the only other one that I will give you a sneak preview to what to watch for is, I'd have to say it was one of my favorite interviews, because two of my favorite people in this industry, Island Jim, Jim Robinson, who is my collaborator on the cigar. I did the Nick and Jim with him a number of years ago, and we've become fast friends, and we've spent a lot of time over the years, not only in Cuba, but on the road. And he's, had the relationship with Oscar Valdez and his factory, but you never really saw those two guys, as far as I can remember, and for years, not only not in the same room, but on the same couch. So I kind of started my interview with Oscar, and I kind of thought, Jim was off the hook because he didn't really want to go on camera. To be honest, neither of those guys really do. And then right in the middle, we did the whole history of Oscar and just kind of a deep dive into his thing. And then I pulled Jim into it, got him to sit on the couch right next to Oscar, which I've never seen them share such a space close to each other in all the years I've known both of those men. And it was just, in fact, I remember my words. I said, you know what? This really warms my heart to see you two, that have elevated each other and have really made the Leaf by Oscar and the Oscar Valadares factory a success over the last 12 years or so. They launched in 2012, so I guess it's been a little bit longer.
A little bit longer.
But that was a real fun interview, and I'm glad that happened. And if I did nothing else, personally, I thought that was for me, it was a personal triumph to get those two guys together. And I think the viewers, listeners, and everybody else that follows the Simply Stogies podcast, even though you won't know they're sitting next to each other, they both were there, and it was a good time. Good time.
That sounds awesome. It's always fun when you can have people in the industry just come together, and those guys worked together for years, but never sat down on
never
camera.
Were in the same space at the same time for whatever reason over the years. And it's like they're launching the new Island Jim cigar, and the booth was busy, and Oscar seemed very happy as well, and all is well in Oscar and Jim land.
That's kind of what we like to hear. I'd like to go to Tim, but he's a little.
No, I'm just reading the comments.
Okay.
Make sure
that he's
we
producing at the same time.
Yeah, so we got some comments in there from a few just saying that they're here, they're trying some of the different cigars, really enjoying it.
Oh, good.
Nice, good. Yeah, I'm glad. Let me ask Tim, what were some of your highlights today, and then I'll go into what I was about to say.
Honestly, today was kind of, it sucked. Don't get me wrong, because it's a lot. No, hold on. I'm starting off with it's
positive here. I don't know if you're getting the general gist here, but
Well, so I had to follow Nick around all damn. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No. With yesterday just kind of being slow and the aches, literal aches and pains, and
getting into the swing of walking.
Right, I was really worried. But then when Nick and we hit the show floor today, and we hit it running. We got to, I think it was like 11:50. I looked at my watch, and we're going through, and we're like, well, dang, we've almost hit our quota for the day. And that was
a day. Let's just call it a day.
Yeah. But that was kind of like a breath of fresh air, just being like, we can do this.
The pressure. It was just chill and pace ourselves and really enjoy the moment more than just being on that timeline.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just the dichotomy between yesterday and today, just from a media perspective.
Right.
Again, we talked about the foot traffic and all of that, but from a media perspective, specifically this media's perspective.
Specifically.
Like yesterday, we started off at 9:00. Didn't we have a couple right off the bat? We did. We had Patina, Mo, and I was
Mayflower.
So I was nervous as hell giving out our first Cigar of the Year award.
I don't know why.
I just did. I didn't think it would, but it did, and it was such a big moment in the history of our show. And I got emotional. I didn't cry. There weren't tears in my eyes, but it did hit me emotionally right in the feels. As the kids used to say. And then immediately going from that, going to sit down with a celebrity, Michael Knowles, meeting him in person for the first time. We had such a great conversation with him on the podcast. And then to meet him in person
was even better.
It was much better. And the conversation flowed so easily to the point again where they had to be like, hey guys, like we got people waiting, like you get the fuck out.
Wrap it up.
And so yesterday just started off, at least for me, very emotionally charged and nerves hitting me. And I was a nervous wreck. And after that, I kind of calmed down, but I kind of lost all sense of any plan that I had of knocking out as many interviews as I could. It was just kind of scattershot. which frustrated the hell out of Randy. And,
Yep.
he handled it with the grace and tact that one would expect Randy to handle it with, which means there was no grace or tact.
I got that.
Yeah, I figured you two would get that. I wouldn't let the
Yeah.
audience at home know. Some of them may not know Randy. And then this morning, I go in. I have this very good, great interview with John Huber, and I talked to Miguel, and I'm able to tell Miguel congratulations on his promotion. I get to see an old friend, Andy Yaffe, and talk with him. And as I'm walking out of the as I'm walking out of the Crown Heads booth, I get to meet Charlie Minato in person for the first time. I had seen him before I had ever had him on the podcast. Before I knew.
You mean
him.
I met him in person before you did?
Yeah, we had this conversation last year.
I don't remember that.
He's such a dick. And Charlie Minato is just, he's not what you expect. Or at least he wasn't what I expected. He was nice. He was down to earth. He was very.
And you expected him not to be?
Here's the thing. There are so many things that people say about Charlie that just are objectively not true. I think that guy
agree with that.
I think that guy gets a lot of hate from around the industry for the way he does things. And you know what? It's his way of doing things. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's his way is that I don't give a shit way.
Yeah.
I just do it. And maybe some people take offense.
I respect the hell out of that.
Oh, absolutely.
And for an industry that is really, I could point to so many people that do it their way, and to hell with tradition. They should respect Charlie a little bit more and stop beating on the guy. But he's so nice, and he was, he's like, hey, it's great to meet you in person. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And he was having a conversation with Andy Yaffe and someone else there at the Crown Heads booth. And I'm like, I'm gonna let you boys get to it. I got interviews to go do. And so it just started off great, and we had a great day. I could go through the list of people that we talked with. Vance Taylor, he sets the record straight from our Clear the Air. Which it was nothing, boys. It was nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't your fault at all.
Yeah, he told us.
Okay. And then the other highlight for me, outside of John Huber, growing up before I got old and fat, I used to play basketball. Played basketball in high school. And I used to follow the Chicago Bulls religiously. They were my team. Michael Jordan, right? Scottie Pippen.
Team.
They were America's team.
Yeah.
That's the Cowgirls, and I don't want to. Cowboys. But I saw it. But I used to watch them religiously. And Ron Harper has a cigar with Luciano called The Underrated. And I got to sit down in a very comfortable chair that I did not want to get up from at the Luciano booth and have a conversation with Ron Harper. And that, to a kid who grew up watching him play with MJ, I asked him about the first time he smoked a cigar, which is an MJ story. And I don't want to spoil anything for you because I think that interview, I liked it a lot. I liked being able to talk with him, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. He tells a great story how he first started smoking cigars and gotten into it. And then we talked about lots of things. Great interview. I can't wait for you guys to see it. But as the day rolled on, foot traffic dropped off by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the trade show was open until 6 today. I don't know, and I have limited experience to draw upon, but I would extrapolate from that tomorrow, this place is going to be a ghost town. I don't...
Safe.
Yeah.
Bet.
I
think people,
obviously
though,
some people have to go back to work, and
generally what the third day does for people that stick around is, hey, what new stuff can I look at now? What is new? Let me try. They've done their business day one and part of day two.
Let me look at the new brands, the
Exactly.
people I may never heard of. Let me go.
Or catch up or miss ones that I possibly missed. So it is a good catch-all day, but historically it's always been the least attended. And you're right. By sometimes I years, by noon, people are breaking down their booths. So I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow. We'll see.
From a media perspective, Tim.
Okay.
They took away the last day, which was a half day. And they did that for a lot of reasons. Logistically, I think it made sense to take away that last day. I have no problem with it. I think a lot of people bitched and bemoaned about having to stick around for an extra 4 or 5 hours on a Tuesday when objectively there's nobody there. It makes total sense from a business standpoint to get rid of that day. However, from a media perspective, that final half day was fucking gold.
Yeah.
Literal gold. You could get into any booth and talk to any principal, any blender, any rep that you wanted to. You were able to get content to bring to the audience so that they could connect with these brands in a personal way. And when they took that away, I was a little sad, but I understood it from a business perspective. However, if tomorrow there are booths that are breaking down by noon,
Well, you know what?
Again,
I wasn't thinking that it was 4 days, because the past years, you're right. That's why some people, literally were going there just to get their stuff, breaking it down, because 3 days of it was more than enough. And that's why the decision to go 3 days. So maybe 12 would be a little bit premature. But I think soon afterwards, people will.
Yeah, the trade show opens at 8 tomorrow for everybody. There's no early access for media. Everybody gets in at 8. Now, I would speculate, gentlemen, that the amount of principals that will be at their booth at 8 o'clock
Well, today was any indication.
will be less than 10%.
Well, like I said, if today was any indication, a lot of the principals were not at their booths at
11.
Yeah. So
Day 2 is a weird day, right? Because people go out. It's like day 0, everyone's excited for it, and they're tired from prepping and building their booths. And so they may go out a little bit, and they may have a dinner or something with their team, but they're usually in bed pretty early because they know they got a long day. But at the end of the day, it's like, to hell with how tired I am, I'm going out. And I'm not going to get in until 2 or 3.
you can sleep tomorrow, the next day.
The next day, right. But then, so day 2, everyone's kind of dragging. But yeah, I hope that nobody's breaking down their booth super early tomorrow. The trade show ends at 4. I would really like to be able to have more interviews with people from in and around the industry. I've got my eye on several for tomorrow, which we'll talk about tomorrow morning. Join us tomorrow morning, 7:30, and we'll do it. And it'll be fun. We'll have a live tomorrow night to wrap up the whole thing. And look, guys, we're going to record a podcast right now that's going to come out on the 15th. That's Tuesday. And instead of your regular podcast where it's myself and Nick and we're sitting down with a guest and we're talking, unless something drastically changes here in the next 10 to 20 minutes, what it's going to be is a Clear the Air style episode where we break down the trade show, at least the first 2 days of it. I think we've got a good handle on what it is and what's to come, because for the next couple of weeks, you're going to be seeing a lot of content coming out from us. What does that mean? It means that there will be no Clear the Air this next week on the 22nd. I know it's a sad thing, but we're going to have so much content. And Tim, you're busy personally.
Yeah.
Just being able to schedule that kind of stuff, as well as getting out as much content as we can from the trade show, it's just not a tenable situation. So we have decided to pivot and do this. And I hope you guys understand. But you can look forward to a brand new podcast Tuesday at 7 a.m. It will release like it does on every 15th and the 1st of every month. And it'll be the 3 of us sitting here talking to you about the trade show in its almost entirety. I think day 2 was a grand success. I once again want to thank my cameraman, Randy, for putting up with my bullshit all day long. I want to thank Jimmy, who's currently at a dinner with Crown Heads because he also owns the drawing room. And so he's doing his retailer duties tonight. So he's not here. But I also want to thank Tim and Nick who have busted their butts for the last couple of days, getting a ton of interviews for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoy them in the coming days. So Nick, do you have any closing thoughts on day 2?
No, not really. It's all been said. Tomorrow is the final day. And we'll just close it out in good equal style fashion and bring you guys a concise podcast of the whole thing.
I think that's Nick's way of saying this podcast isn't going to last more than 30 minutes, is it?
This one?
No, the podcast.
No.
Well, you said concise, and I got a little worried.
No, I think
I'm wordy. Empty can rattles the most. Like,
well, get the points across. People want to know what it is. Sometimes too much fluff is too much fluff.
I promise no rants this time. Tim, do you have any closing thoughts on day 2?
Just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, I think, when you're working, I think January is when we kind of start looking at the PCA trade show, maybe a little bit earlier. We get really excited. We get here. And as soon as we get here, we're having fun. Don't get me wrong. But then now we're waiting for it to be over. And then as soon as it's over, we wish it doesn't. But I know we've had several talks about looking at new things to do for PCA trade shows coming forward. So if you got any ideas, info@simplystogies.com.
Yeah, look, give us some feedback on what you want to see out of the trade show. Like the big theme for us this year was family, and I think there are a ton of examples of that just today. Today alone, there were 3 different manufacturers that have a cigar coming out that's a tribute to someone in their family, someone in the industry, someone who made an impact. And that's really what family is all about. And that's what this industry is all about, is a people-driven industry. And it's driven by you, the consumer, but it's also driven by the folks inside the industry, both manufacturers and retailers. And they make a huge impact, not just in each other's lives, but in your lives as well. So I think it's important for everyone to pay attention to the trade show and see what's coming out of it. But we're going to talk about that in the upcoming podcast. Stay tuned. That's going to be on Tuesday. For the absentee Randy, for the absentee Jimmy, for my friend to the left, blender extraordinaire, Nicholas Sears, and for the anchovies on my pizza over to my right, getting ready to end this thing, I want to say, stay smoky, friends.